Welcome back to the show. Today, we're diving into a huge shift for e-commerce marketers. How AI search is changing what visibility means, and how you should be measuring your brand in Google's new AI world.
This is where things like share of voice in AI assistants, visibility in generative search, and even your rankings inside AI overviews start to matter just as much as classic SEO and Google Ads metrics.
Let's start from the top. Why does AI search even matter so much for e-commerce right now? And what's changed in the last year or two?
AI assistants and generative search aren't a side channel anymore. Comscore saw AI assistants reach over a third of desktop users in 2025, and tools like Ahrefs and Semrush are showing AI overviews on a meaningful share of queries, especially commercial and transactional ones. When those AI surfaces show up, they're often absorbing clicks, which means your brand can't just think about blue links. You need to know if you're being named, recommended, and positioned inside those AI answers.
So this is where share of voice in AI search comes in. How do you define that in a way a CMO or performance lead can actually work with?
Share of voice in AI search is simply the percentage of brand mentions or citations you get in AI answers versus all the brands you're tracking for a specific set of queries and time period. If your brand is cited 180 times and competitors 420 times across your query set, that's 600 citations total, and you're sitting at 30% share of voice in that AI model for that week.
You're talking about citations as the unit here. What counts practically as a citation in this context?
A citation can be your brand name, your domain, a product line, or even a specific SKU mentioned explicitly in the AI response. And you can break that down per model, per region, per language, and per time window.
Beyond share of voice, the article also talks about visibility in generative search. What does visibility actually mean when we're not just looking at a classic SERP?
Visibility is about whether you show up at all in those AI-generated answers or shopping carousels, and how often. You can track things like answer presence rate, how many queries include you, impressions from AI surfaces, and SKU-level visibility, meaning which products actually appear in AI carousels or recommendation lists.
And Google's starting to expose some of this directly now, right? Not just through scraped SERPs?
Yes, Google's Gen AI performance reports in Search Console now show impressions and clicks tied specifically to generative AI features, broken out by pages, countries, devices, and dates, so you can start grounding your AI visibility in first-party telemetry.
Then there's ranking in GEO and AEO. How is ranking different in an AI answer compared to a normal list of links?
With generative engines, ranking is really the ordering and prominence of brands inside an AI answer, not just where your page sits on a SERP. You look at average position among recommended options, how often you're in the top 3 or top 5, and a prominence score that can factor in things like first mention, bold text, or where you appear in a carousel.
Okay, so an e-commerce team buys into this. How do they actually measure their share of voice and ranking inside AI assistants?
Start with a lean metric set. Count your brand citations, track competitor citations for a handful of key players, measure answer presence rate, average position, sentiment around pros and cons, and SKU-level visibility. Then you combine that with platform data, like Gen AI reports from Search Console, Merchant Center, and Business Profile Health, and competitive signals from the Ads Transparency Center.
And where does the actual data from ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, or Perplexity come from? Are people just manually prompting these tools?
You can start with manual prompts, but the scalable way is to use APIs or scripted queries against a fixed corpus of questions, then parse the responses for mentions, positions, and sentiment. Some teams build internal dashboards for this, while others lean on dedicated AI visibility platforms that automate the polling and analysis.
You mentioned a query corpus. How do you pick the right questions so these share of voice numbers actually mean something?
Pull from your own Search Console and Google Ads, top organic queries, high-converting search terms, and especially those where Gen AI surfaces already show up. Then, segment them into navigational, commercial, and transactional queries. Add comparison and agentic prompts, like best X under Y dollars, localize by language and region, and lock that as a versioned list so you can track changes over time.
Once you've got the questions and the responses, what are the key formulas you'd actually put into a dashboard?
At minimum, calculate your presence rate, how often you appear at all, your share of voice per model, a weighted multi-model SOV based on each assistant's relative traffic, average position rank, where you show up, and a SKU visibility rate that shows what fraction of your catalog is surfacing.
Let's talk tools. The article uses Era as a vendor example. What does a platform like that actually do for an e-commerce brand in this space?
Era is positioned as an AI visibility and optimization platform. It queries major models like ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, and Perplexity, plus shopping agents, syncs with your product catalog, and reports share of voice, rankings, sentiment, and SKU-level visibility across models and regions. It also layers on GEO optimization and content automation, even auto-publishing AI-optimized articles. But like any such tool, it's limited by model API changes, how representative your query corpus is, and data access constraints.
And RankShift is brought in as a kind of generic competitor example. What's the difference in focus between Era-style tools and RankShift-style tools?
Era-style tools are multi-model and e-commerce-centric, with deep SKU and agentic shopping tracking, while RankShift-style tools extend traditional SEO monitoring into AI overviews, mostly focusing on Google, keywords, and domain citations, rather than product-level or cross-assistant coverage.
So an e-commerce team might pair something multimodal with their SEO platform, rather than expecting one tool to do everything.
Exactly. You might use an Era-style tool to see how AI assistants treat your products across ecosystems, and a RankShift-style module to understand how Google's AI overviews specifically are impacting your organic footprint.
Let's pivot to Google Ads. The article compares Ads Manager, Ads Editor, the Ads Transparency Center, local and business ads, and ad grants. How does that all tie into AI-aware e-commerce?
Generative visibility doesn't replace Google Ads. It changes how you use those tools. Ads Manager, Ads Editor, the Ads Library, and local or business profile ads all become levers to strengthen the structured signals and product evidence that generative systems draw on. And Ad Grants sits alongside that for nonprofits, not commercial retailers.
Let's break those down. What's the main job of Google Ads Manager in this AI-aware stack?
Google Ads Manager is for overseeing multiple accounts, agencies or enterprises with different brands or regions, and it centralizes access, reporting, budgets, and bulk actions without extra license fees. In an AI context, it lets you coordinate experiments and budget shifts across markets so you can see how different strategies affect generative visibility and AI share of voice in each account.
And how does that differ from what Google Ads Editor does for a retailer with tons of SKUs?
Ads Editor is the heavy-duty free desktop tool for offline bulk editing. If you've got tens of thousands of products, it's how you rapidly update bids, ad copy, asset groups, and product group structures. For GEO and AEO, that speed matters because you can quickly align titles, descriptions, and extensions with AI optimization guidance, clear specs, pricing, availability, so both shopping and AI surfaces get better information.
If you had to give a simple rule of thumb for large catalogs, when do I reach for Manager, and when do I reach for Editor?
Use Ads Manager for cross-account strategy and governance, budgets, access, experiments across brands or regions, and Ads Editor for day-to-day SKU-level optimization inside each account.
What about the Ads Transparency Center, the Ads Library? How does that help specifically with AI and e-commerce?
The Ads Library is a free competitive intel tool where you can see other advertisers' live and past ads across search, YouTube, and display, and it gets a ton of user interaction every day. For e-commerce, you use it to benchmark competitor pricing and offers, spot creative patterns, and then build fact-based comparison content and product pages that AMI systems can confidently cite when answering best or compare queries.
So I might pull competitor ads every month, tag them by value prop, and feed that into my own product messaging and content that AI can reference.
Exactly. And that content then supports both your classic SEO and your GEO/AEO efforts because it's structured, up-to-date, and grounded in actual market data.
Let's talk local. How do local inventory ads and business profile ads show up in this AI visibility story?
Local inventory ads connect your in-store inventory to nearby searchers. And when run alongside shopping ads, Google has reported lifts like 21% more store visits and 9% more online conversions for in-store products. Business profile ads boost your presence in maps and local packs, and together they feed Google rich, structured data about inventory, hours, reviews, and locations that generative answers can reuse when recommending local options.
And then there's Google Ad Grants, which often gets confused with all of this. Who is that actually for?
Ad Grants is strictly for eligible nonprofits, offering up to $10,000 a month in free search ads, and e-commerce businesses aren't eligible. For nonprofits, it's a way to get more traffic to high-quality informational content that AI assistants might later cite, but it's not a lever for commercial retailers.
If you're an e-commerce team trying to build an AI-aware performance stack, what practical workflow would you recommend from this article?
First, instrument Gen AI visibility via Search Console's Gen AI reports, so you know how often you're showing up and getting clicks from AI surfaces. Second, measure AI share of voice and ranking using either internal scripts or an AI visibility platform. Third, keep Merchant Center and business profiles pristine. Run local inventory and business profile ads where relevant, and use Ads Editor to constantly refine your product and ad data to match AI optimization guidance. Then use Ads Manager to coordinate strategy across accounts, and the Ads Library to keep learning from competitors and feeding those insights into geo-optimized content.
And how would that change based on size? Say a mid-market brand versus an enterprise retailer or an agency?
A mid-market brand with one main account leans heavily on Ads Editor, Merchant Center, and possibly a single AI visibility tool. An enterprise retailer leans on Ads Manager for governance, plus standardized GEO/AEO metrics across units. Agencies use Ads Manager for client portfolios, build a shared GEO/AEO measurement framework, and may white label AI visibility dashboards as part of their reporting.
Before we wrap, I want to hit a big misconception. Is optimizing for generative AI search something fundamentally new, or is it still just SEO with extra steps?
Google's own guidance is that this is still SEO at its core. Unique, useful content, strong structure, and rich supporting data, like images, local info, and product details. What's new is that you're measuring across multiple AI models, tracking share of voice, visibility, and ranking inside answers, and aligning your Google Ads tools to support those signals.
So if you're listening and you run e-commerce, the takeaway is keep investing in SEO basics, but start measuring where and how AI assistants talk about you, and use Google's ad and data tools to feed those systems better evidence.
Exactly. Treat AI overviews and assistants as new shelves where your products can sit, and make sure you're tracking your share of that shelf space and actively optimizing for it.
That's a perfect place to leave it. Chris, thanks for breaking down how share of voice, visibility, and ranking work in GEO and AEO, and how Google Ads tools fit into an AI-aware e-commerce stack.
Thanks for having me, and I hope this helps teams see AI search as a measurable, optimizable channel, not just a black box.
And thanks to everyone listening. If this episode got you thinking differently about your AI presence, go look at your Gen AI reports and start building that query corpus. We'll catch you next time.